Good afternoon, everyone. Today is super exciting because we're meeting with Bill Lennon. Thank you so much for being with us, Bill. He's
Thank
the
you.
founder of 40% Better, and they focus on great leadership. So we're going to let him tell us about that. Would you be able to tell us about your background, yourself? And we'll go into the business afterwards,
Sure.
Bill.
Yeah. Um,
Thank you.
sure, of course. Yeah. I've spent 25 years in Silicon Valley running software teams. I'm self-taught software engineer. I wasn't planning on becoming a software engineer when I was in college, and even when I got into tech, um, I actually got into my first startup just to help a friend out. He owned the company, and he asked me to help him with a couple of sales calls with people that I knew that were friends of mine. And that turned into a job offer on the sales side. And then I was like, well, I need to learn how to code because I need to understand what I'm selling. And then I was doing production code, and that was kind of how the whole thing started. Um, Also, in my past, I've been a mechanic and uh, spent 7 years wrenching on cars. In college, I was a first responder, and I worked in a high end restaurant. And one of my mentors, which really influenced a lot of my leadership thinking, um, worked in military supply chain.
Super
And
interesting. Quite a journey.
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Would you be able to tell us a little bit more of the specifics of 40% Better, especially its values and its missions, please?
Sure. So 40% better, as Carolyn mentioned earlier, it's leadership training, but we're focused on leadership training for first level team managers and team leads. Whether it's, whether they're new to it or they've been doing it for a long time, kind of doesn't really matter. But it's that level because that's the level that has the most leverage on the happiness and the performance of individual contributors. And at most companies, on a daily basis, the stuff that drives the company forward is individual contributors doing the work. It's not something that people in the executive suite are doing nearly as much. Um, and so, one of the things that I learned a long time ago is that the better that I could be at helping my individual contributors operate, the faster they would code. Obviously, the happier they were at work, the better our performance was. And the faster that we could get software shipped, the faster that the salespeople could sell it. And so that's really kind of the mission, is to get the software team to be as happy as possible. We focus on building their psychological safety, their intrinsic motivation, and really the communication inside the team. And to do this, we teach a stack of, I don't want to say hidden, but I would say unconscious mental models and skills and practices for the team leads to get them to operate better with their people.
That's so important. That's probably the most important part of work life, right?
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
fascinating. Thank you for sharing. Um, More specifically, can you tell us about the product that 40% Better delivers?
Sure. So when we do an engagement, it's a 6 month program. The first 2 months of that are training. It's the fundamentals of our approach, and then the last 4 months are one-on-one coaching, because what we found is that different people will be successful and have an easy time or struggle with different parts of the curriculum. And so we spend that last 4 months to really get everything moving forward. And because our focus is on behavior change, because this is all about changing behaviors, people need accountability, and they need, wait a minute, how do you do that? And oftentimes that includes, we're breaking things down into little tiny steps to get them to achieve a bigger goal. um, and that's what the coaching is for. Um, they start doing things and executing using the curriculum on day one. That's we because we're doing behavior change, we want to get that
Yeah.
to start as fast as possible. And so day one, they've got homework, stuff to do with their teams.
So you must have a huge team then, from what I'm
No, it's
understanding.
just it's myself and my partner.
Oh, I
That's all
see.
it takes.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. We're very efficient with this,
Wow. Yeah,
and
for
we've been
sure.
doing this before. Yeah.
Can you tell us a story of how your product offers value for a client? And just to show our listeners
Yeah,
what the contributions are, to the
sure.
collective.
So
Thank you.
the the it's from my own history, right? I went to work at a company, I don't know, probably 10 years ago by now, and I was inheriting a software team. Um, and the day that I started, the CTO said at the end of the conversation, he said, by the way, I hate to tell you this, but I'm giving you the worst performing software team in the company. We've been trying to get them to operate better for 8 years now, and we haven't been successful. Good luck. And I said, oh, okay, well, this is going to be fun. Thank you so much. Um, and I'll do what I can. And 6 months later, I'm sitting at my desk working, and he comes over and goes, "Can I talk to you for a few minutes?" And I go, "Yeah, sure, of course." We go into his office, and he closes the door, and he goes, "What did you do to your team?" And I said, I don't know. What are you talking about?" And he said, "I gave you the worst performing team in the company. You now have the best performing team in the company. Their coding throughput has gone up by 40%. I don't know how to do that. What is it that you're doing?" And I said, at the time, I didn't know how to explain it. And I said, well, I just take really good care of my people. And he said, well, when you figure it out, you have to tell me what it is you're doing. In retrospect, here's the things I had done that allowed them to be so much more productive. Number one, when they had complaints about process and things that we were doing, I listened, I paid attention, and I changed the processes so that they didn't have those frictions anymore. um, Number two, we didn't have meetings just to have meetings. It was very much like, this is why we're having a meeting. Only people need to be here are the people that we really need, and nobody else has to show up. Um, I got them new computers. I was able to get the budget released so they could get new hardware because they were all complaining about their computers being slow. And I never tried to be the smartest guy in the room. Um, and I actually was very deliberate about getting the shyest people on the team to feel comfortable and relaxed and to get them to speak up with their ideas. Because the my experience has been that the shy people on the teams in technology are often the smartest people in the room, but nobody knows it because they don't speak up. And so I just focused on getting 1% better every day. And that was it.
Mm,
And it worked.
that's so great. Question:
Yeah.
Did 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 this develop as a result of your personal research, or because I understand it comes from behavioral information
Yeah.
that, yeah.
So it's a combination. The starting point was my prior experiences before I
Mm,
started running my own software team, right? So, one of my mentors that used to run military supply chains, one of his comments that he made was that his job was to make his team as happy and as successful as possible because there was nothing that was going on that they were responsible for that he could do by himself. And so he, if everybody else left, nothing was going to happen because everything required a bunch of people to make it happen, right? Um, And that stuck in my team, in my head, that the team and the team being happy and making it easy for them to do good work was critically important.
Right.
And then when I was in college, I worked in a high end restaurant, and it was interesting because it was a culture of coaching and a culture of support, and the coaching could come from anybody about anything. And the guy that was the GM, the general manager, he tried very hard to never coach us, because what he wanted was he wanted the fresh insight of people that were new to the business,
Hmm.
and he wanted everybody to feel comfortable speaking up. And so he rarely did. And there was a very few exceptions when he'd be like, I see a flaw here in this thought process, but it was like once a year, super rare. And so we all became very comfortable speaking up. The psychological safety there was really, really good. And that was just a really good model for me. And the third thing was that I learned a bunch of emotional resilience skills because of sports and my hobbies growing up. Um, and I used those for performance, and I started using them as I was leading teams, because part of leading teams, you have to do things that are scary. It's a little scary to go and ask an executive for thousands of dollars of money to go and buy equipment for your teams. And having those skills allowed me to go have those conversations. And I kind of took it for granted. Because I thought everybody knew this stuff. Um,
Mm.
it wasn't until I started really trying to very deliberately reverse engineer everything I'd been doing, um, with help from my partner, that I I learned that not everybody has those emotional resilience skills because they've never been taught them.
Yeah.
And I've also had clients, as talking through, like, oh, here's how you can solve this problem. They've told me straight up, oh, it's too scary, I can't do it, because they don't know that they can work through the fear. They don't have that as a mental model.
I see. So it sounds like you figured out the ingredients to make
Mm-hmm.
this secret sauce. So
Right.
what would you say is the special ingredient or the special factor that makes your product successful and
So yeah,
work?
so there's really five ingredients.
Okay.
The first one is mental models or beliefs, and it's people don't operate beyond their belief structure,
Yeah.
right? And so I have a different stack of beliefs and mental models around leadership, and that means that's like I see opportunities and doorways for my team to operate better that other people just don't see. And it's
Mhm.
it's confirmation bias, right? It's the way our heads work, right? Something is going on, and I go, oh, that's an opportunity. Other people, they don't even, it happens, and it's background noise for them. They don't even realize
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they go, there's nothing I can do about it. So it's first of all, it's the beliefs and the mental models. The second thing is emotional resilience, because it allows me to overcome the emotional challenge of doing something that I'm like, oh, this is going to be scary, right? Um, and then the third thing is being very proactive about communication skills, both research and persuasion. You have to be able to go and research and learn things, and you have to be able to persuade executives in a way that makes it easy for them to say yes to your requests. And so I spent time learning those things and practicing those things. And I used to have horrible social anxiety. So part of what we teach people in the tech from the that are in our programs is how to get over your social anxiety. And again, it's mental models, it's skills, it's emotional resilience
Hmm.
that allows you to do all the communication stuff. The fourth ingredient is understanding power dynamics. And I don't ever think of anything being above my pay grade. I because I that's one of those things that stops team leads from taking care of their people, is when they say it's above their pay grade. They don't take care of their people, and now they're not trustworthy anymore. And so really knowing how to operate within the environment of power dynamics
Mhm.
is critically important.
Yeah.
And then the fifth ingredient is making it all habits. And habits mean you're repeating behaviors every week, sometimes every day, and that means that you're making tiny amounts of progress forward, that the people on the team don't even realize what's happening. Like, this is part of the approach, is I'm not trying to force anybody into anything. I'm just making their lives easier, making it easier for them to work really well, setting them up for success. And as simple as that sounds, you get amazing performance out of teams when you do that.
Mhm. Thanks for sharing. The factor that must be difficult is when you have a team, you're dealing with, let's say, 10 individuals,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And you're one leader. So you're trying to deliver all of this, and that must be a challenge. Can you talk a little bit about that?
it's actually, it's not that hard, right? Like,
Okay.
I expect that everybody on the team is going to be a little bit different,
Yeah.
and so, and also because I know that the most important part of my job is to make them operate more efficiently, right? Is number one, they've got to be happier, and number two, they're more productive. Like, that's the game, right? And
Mm,
so nothing else matters as much, right? Was when the team becomes more productive,
mm,
the it's whatever you're doing, if your team is becoming more and more productive, the executives are happy, right? The other teams in the company are happy. And so the sales team is happy, right? And so
yeah.
it actually, it means, yeah, it's the most important thing I could be doing. 10-person team is fine. Um, I'm not going to be doing something with every person every day, so it gets spread out. And also because the increments of change are very small, and they're not necessarily direct. Like, for that team, early on I was getting to know them and understand them, and then I started asking, like, okay, what could help you operate better as a team? One of the first things that they talked about was the first meeting we had in the morning of the stand-ups we did every day was too early, because they all had kids and they were all trying to get their kids to school, and half the team would be calling in to the meeting from their car, and they're like, if you could just let us get home,
Mm,
it would make our lives so much easier. And I was like, okay, that's
done.
easy.
Yeah.
That's, like, who makes a decision on the meeting time, right? And they were like,
Yeah.
well, it's yours. And I'm like, okay, great, what time do you guys want to meet? We moved the meeting time back, I think it was 30 minutes, and
Yeah.
everybody now can get home, because like, not like nobody's 100 miles from school, right? 30 minutes is plenty of time for them to get home. They get their computers running. It's no big deal. It's an easy win. And they're like, okay, thank you. They start the day, they're less stressed,
Yeah.
right?
That's
It's
true.
easy. It's such a it seems such a simple little piece, but the fact that I was willing to listen to them and then make that change, they're like, oh, okay, great. This guy actually pays attention to us.
Hmm.
And so, and then the next thing was part of our agile process. Like, they didn't like how part of the agile process was set up and running. I'm like, okay, how do you guys want to change it? What do you want to do? What's the problem? And and I just kept nibbling away at those. Um, and they became happier.
It sounds like it's a lot about feedback, just getting
Oh
feedback,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Okay, that makes sense. What major shifts are you seeing in your industry right now that are affecting you or impacting 40%
Um,
better?
so everybody's talking about AI, and I don't know that AI is impacting us. I mean, we're starting to use AI for things for very simple um, analysis. And even with that, like I'm kind of looking at it carefully because AI doesn't always get it right and it hallucinates.
Mhm.
And so, it's an experiment, right? But what's really important is that the people that we work with, they're all very afraid of AI taking their jobs. And
Wow.
so, and it's an irrational fear. Um, and the solution is to figure out, how do you upskill? How do you learn something new? Because AI has some very serious limitations. Um, and so learning how to upskill so that you are now operating in the space of things that AI can't do, it makes you valuable. It makes you somebody who's not going to get laid off because AI has replaced you. Um, and that kind of mindset of upskilling and being more valuable has been true in technology for as long as I've been in technology, you know, because there's always been something that has made a skill less valuable,
Mhm.
like, and so, and it could be like, way back in the day, Fortran was the code people used, right? Well, new object oriented languages came up and Fortran became irrelevant. And if you didn't know the other languages, you couldn't get a job because nobody was
Yeah.
coding in Fortran, right? And understanding the web, new thing came up, and if you couldn't make that shift, then you weren't as employable. Um, Mobile apps, there's been all these inflection points where technology has changed. AI is just another one. And so wrapping your head around, oh, what's the skill set? And I think of it as being better at peopling, at being human, and at critical
Yes.
thinking and doing research, and understanding the kind of problems that need to be solved is the key piece. And a lot of people in tech, that makes them uncomfortable because they have some degree of social anxiety.
Mhm.
But social anxiety is a very solvable problem. Um, I've done it for myself. I've taught a few hundred people now how to replicate my results. And so that shouldn't be a it shouldn't be a deal killer for anybody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it's true. And the human part of it when you're talking about AI is so important.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. How has the trend that you mentioned of AI impacted your growth strategy? Has it at all at this point?
Um, Not really, because I've actually been. I'm trying to think of the right word to use here. Um, I haven't seen AI magically produce results that are phenomenal. Um, it's produced results like AI will write faster than I can write, but it doesn't mean I like the writing. Um, we gave it some data to analyze, and it didn't do it very well. Like, it looked at first glance and we were like, oh, there's all this content coming out. And then we really started reading it. And we're like, wait a minute, that's backwards. you know, like, it's completely screwed up. Like, we, no. And so I'm still, I'm hesitant because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, and I'm also, I'm, because the quality of the work that we do really, really matters to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't see AI doing better quality,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I'm like, I'm not worried about it. Um, and I don't see that AI can replace the human part of this. Partly because humans operate better when they're dealing with other humans. It's a
And
it's a brain chemistry thing.
sorry, it's probably also the nature of what you're offering, your service
Right.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with all of this in mind, Bill, where do you see 40% better in 6 months to a year from now?
Uh, Having more clients, that's really the fundamental thing. It's just basic business growth. um, I'm sure, like every business, as your volume goes up, sooner or later you discover scale points, places where you need to improve the scaling of the business. And you can't see those from the outs, you can't see it till you get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, and and so I'm not trying to, I'm looking at what's the next step ahead, right? I'm not trying to really predict 20 steps out,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, because I've seen so many companies that, they tried to build for that thing. And number one, they never got to step one to step two. And then that thing they were predicting, it was a waste of time and effort to build for that.
Yeah.
Um, that's one of the benefits of having worked for and watched a bunch of startups, is you get to learn, like, oh, wait a minute, that was a waste of time, um, and effort and money, and let's not do that thing. Um, and also, I've been startups that have been very successful, and they only focus on what's the next step,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was the whole thing, is what's the next step. So really for us, it's the next step is growth. It's to acquire more customers, and we know that it's somewhere along the way we're going to go, oh, that's a scaling problem. How do we solve it? And I'm not trying to predict the future, because I'm not afraid that we can't solve scaling problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I've solved enough scaling problems in the course of my life, that another one's just going to be another one. It's going to be another one of those. Oh, it's a scaling problem with whatever it is. Okay, great. We'll figure out how to solve it. It'll take us 2 weeks. That's it.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's great that you're looking at it that way. Um, I was wondering, in closing, do you have anything else or that you would like to say to our listeners?
Um, Everything seems hard until you learn how to do it, and then it becomes easy. And the fact that it seems hard just means you don't have enough practice, right? And I'm not the
Yeah.
first person to say this. Alex Hormozy has said this in a variety of ways. His wife Layla has said it in a variety of ways. Other people have said it before us. Um, and I think this idea that, oh my God, it's hard and I shouldn't do it, is, um, it's an unrealistic fear, and it stops people from forward progress,
Yeah,
in their
for sure.
careers, in their goals, in their business. And yeah, it's going to be hard, but in 3 months you're going to look back and you're going to be like, oh, that was actually really easy.
Hmm.
Or it's easy now because I figured it out, right?
Yeah.
If you ever watch little kids learning how to walk, they have a super high failure rate, but we all figure out how to walk. And it's the same thing in business. You just got to go, oh, this is the struggle part. This is the part where I don't know how to do this elegantly. I don't have the coordination. I don't have systems. I don't have whatever it is. And then, okay, cool. I'm figuring it out. And then I'm gonna be walking. And then one of these days I'll be running. Like, how crazy is that? That you can go
Mhm.
from, I can barely crawl to I can run. Babies can do it, adults can do it too.
I think too that that's one of the major causes of procrastination is that fear
Yeah,
you were talking about, right? So
exactly.
it
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
stops us from reaching our highest potential, right?
Yep, yep, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was so nice having you on our
Thank you.
podcast. Thank you so much, Bill.
Of course.
And thank you for all your insights and for sharing your information. And for our listeners, if you ever want to reach out to Bill, um, if you need specialty for leadership, you can reach him through his LinkedIn profile, and you can also reach him through his website, 40pb.com. That's
Yep.
correct, Bill?
Yes.
Great. So thank you so
Easy.
much and have a
Thank you.
great afternoon. And thanks a lot. It's been an honor having you, Bill.
Thank you very much. That
Thank
was
you.
easy.